Public media is under serious threat. Efforts to defund public media could disrupt everything you rely on. WXXI provides essential services, from great music and local news to life-saving emergency alerts. If these services are lost, so is your access to trusted information and connection. It's up to all of us to protect your public radio station. Learn more at protectmypublicmedia.org.
From WXXI News, this is Connections. I'm Veronica Volk, filling in for Evan Dawson. Our connection this hour was made in March 2021. We were a year into the pandemic, a year since those first cases of COVID and the widespread shutdowns, when Racquel Stephen joined the WXXI newsroom. As our health reporter, she covered those early vaccine rollouts, the Omicron variant, remember that, and eventually boosters, and so much more. The scope of her reporting broadened, and so did her title. Now she covers health, equity, and community. And we're going to get into all that and what it means. But first, I want to talk about why we're here. As you may have heard, Evan Dawson, the host of this show, is taking some time off over the summer. And while he's off, our very own Racquel Stephen will be in this chair. She's going to bring you those same in-depth interviews, the latest news and information, roundtable discussions, all of that. But she's going to put her own spin on it. And what is that spin? Racquel wears many hats, not just here at WXXI, but out in the community. She's talked about her alter ego, about being between two worlds. And we wanted to give you, the listeners of this program, a chance to get to know her better. So in this hour, we're going to talk about her life and her career and reflect on journalism and media and this dichotomy of Racquel Stephen and Rocky B. And of course, we'll invite your questions. You can call us toll-free at 844-295-TALK, 8255. The local number is 585-263-9994. You can email us at connections@wxxi.org or comment on the Connections live stream on the WXXI News YouTube channel. All right, let's get into it. Joining me in studio is my colleague, Racquel Stephen. Racquel, thank you so much for joining me.
Did I have a choice? No,
I don't think so. Yeah. This was a prerequisite to set you up. So you're going to start hosting on Monday at 12 o'clock.
Yes.
And I wanted to tell our listeners that for the time that Evan is gone from now until September, we will be live from 12 to 1 with Racquel and her guests. And then from 1 to 2, we're bringing back some of our favorite shows from the past year and the year before that. Mm-hmm. But Racquel, let's talk.
Yes.
All right. So what brought you here? Let's go way back to the beginning.
Wow.
We were just talking about this. You were born in St. Lucia and raised in St. Croix.
Yes.
What were those early years like for you? How'd they shape you?
Yeah. So, living on the islands, you feel like every day is just magical, right? You're in paradise. You grew up in paradise. So for me, my experience was very limited, right, to the islands. But everyone that grows up on the islands, they want, if you dream big, right, your goal is to come to the United States and live your dreams, right, and pursue your dreams and make it to be as big as you like, bigger than life. So I had a really fun island life. The beach, is a small community, 50,000 people. St. Croix, the Virgin Islands, 50,000 people. And so everyone knew everyone. So if you were doing things in the community, everyone knew who you were. I actually grew up as a tomboy. I played sports. I was actually a dancer as well. So I, joined a dance company. So I was pretty well known for the arts. And I just knew that I loved that light, right? That limelight, that spotlight. So I was in pageants. My mom put me in pageants, whatever I want to do that pertained to the arts, to just showcase what I was good at.
So you're on a stage. I
was on a stage.
Yeah, performing.
I was never afraid of the stage, but I still like to be, we were talking about this, I don't like I like to call it unnecessary attention. I like to be in the cut, like just observing. But when it's time to put it on, I will put it on. So I love the stage, and I won a couple pageants actually. So
it doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't. I have a huge personality, sometimes too big for my body. But I just knew that I wanted to be in the spotlight. I knew that I wasn't camera shy. I enjoy public speaking. A lot of people run away from that type of stuff. And I was like, no, I'll do it. I was the one in class raising your hand, like, who wants to read out loud? Hey, I'll do it. So I was never afraid of that. But you want to dream, you dream bigger. And I attended private school. So Rochester was something my guidance counselor put on my radar.
We got to talk
Never
about
heard about Rochester a
the
day in
vibe
my life.
shift
Yeah.
from the Virgin Islands to Rochester, New York. How did you end up in? Yeah, so your guidance counselor recommended it to you?
Yeah, so high school, I graduated in '05, and my guidance counselor, like, hey, she knew Rochester, and she's like, I think you'll be good at the University of Rochester. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just applying to schools at this point, like, okay.
And you studied?
I studied, I came in initially for electrical engineering.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's talk
electrical
about that.
engineering. And it was just something that when you grow up, your parents are like, you're either going to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, right? Those are the big three. And my mom was like, oh, engineering. And I'm like, okay. So I applied to be electrical engineer for college. And yeah, I realized my brain doesn't work that way. So I knew I loved to create. So I took a creative writing course at the University of Rochester, and it just took off from there.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
So how did your parents react when you sort of
Switched.
Yeah. When
I
you
didn't really
changed
say
majors?
right away. I kind of just did it on my own because I just wanted to try it out. And then when I discovered what I was good at, which was creating and telling stories, I kind of just shifted over. Like, Mom, I'm not doing electrical engineering anymore. Like, I don't know A plus B plus C, and my brain doesn't work that way. So, yeah. But it was if I had $1 every time someone asked, why would you leave the Virgin Islands and come to Rochester? I would be rich. I probably wouldn't be here right now. And it's because when you live on the islands, this is what you dream of. And people, you want to get away from home. Home is always home, right? And I think everyone shares that same sentiment where eventually you want to leave the nest and go. Like, you want to fly. And I just wanted to fly. And so far away from home, but I think it worked out. I think so. Yeah, maybe.
So far, so good.
Yeah, so far, so good.
Okay, so how did we get from creative writing, storytelling in college to radio? How did that happen?
Wow. So when I graduated from the University of Rochester, I did a couple jobs. I worked at a psychiatric center. I knew I loved people. So I worked in a lot of administrative work. Like, I was at the Monroe Golf Club. I was at the front desk. I just love interacting with people.
So you're just talking to people
I was just
all
a
the
talking
time.
and a talk, and I'm still talking. I got most talkative in high school, definitely did, in elementary. So I just love to talk, and I just love people. I love hearing stories. I love telling stories. So I got an opportunity. A friend of mine, she was hosting her own talk show, and she said, hey, do you want to come in as a guest just to be interviewed? And I'm like, okay, sure. And I guess she saw something in me and was like, do you want to just be a co-host for the entire show? And I'm like, okay. And I discovered that I had a niche for that. Like, oh, okay, there's a gift there. And she went off to do other things. And I'm like, well, I still want to do this. So I continued on my path. I proposed my own show. I stayed within the radio realm. And then it just took off from there. I went back to school because I'm like, hey, okay, if this is what it's going to be, let me get the credentials behind it.
Yeah. So like a lot of people that end up here, myself included, don't necessarily take the J school route. So what made you take like that leap? You were already in radio.
Yes.
Why'd you go back to school? You went to Newhouse.
Yes, I went to Newhouse at Syracuse University. I think that was just a test for me. Like, let me see if this is the path I'm supposed to be on. If it is, then I'll get accepted, because it's very hard to get accepted into that school. I think it's only about 20% of applicants for Newhouse for the broadcasting department field. So I just like, let me just test myself to see if this is where I belong. I was actually moving back to the Virgin Islands, Veronica, because I felt like I didn't know what my purpose was. I felt stagnant. So for me, I was in the Virgin Islands for 3 months when I got accepted to Newhouse.
Wow.
Because I'm like, let me just see. And I came back, but it was really just a test for myself. And I knew that's one of the biggest and the most prestigious schools when it comes to broadcasting. So if this is the path I'm supposed to take, then I will be accepted. And boom, I got a letter of acceptance. I'm like, I guess I'm not moving back to the Virgin Islands after all. And everything else, the doors just began to open from there.
Right. And so one of those doors being here at WXXI.
Yes.
You talk a lot about being sort of naturally outgoing, loving to talk, all that. How does that sort of play out in your interviews with folks, even when you're talking about things like, health, science, some more technical subjects?
Yeah, with these hard, I think these are hard subjects, like health, especially coming in during the pandemic, right? I freshly out of school, and WXXI is like, okay, here, let's talk about COVID. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, not me, not right now. So, and I think people just want to be heard by someone that is human, that's relatable, that lead with emotion. I think I provide that safe space when I do interviews, because I'm not coming with all the technicalities. I'm not like, okay, so no, I'm just making sure that you see my personality and you understand that I'm here to just tell your story and do a good job at it. I want you to trust me. And I establish that rapport from the beginning when I do interviews. And I don't like to call them interviews. Every time I do set up an interview till this day, I always say, let's chat. Hey, I want to schedule a chat on Zoom. I make sure I lead with that, because I feel like when you say interviews, people come with this idea that it's going to be very structured and you have to, watch what you say, and they don't open up. I feel when you open up is when you get the best content. So I'm like, hey, let's just chat for 10 minutes. Even when I'm talking to the director of, Strong, like, hey, can I have a chat with you for like 10 minutes? Because I don't like the word interview. I think it's very... it can be very intimidating.
It is intimidating.
Yeah.
And it can be hard when you work in radio. I mean, I'm sure it's a whole different ballgame for TV or for video, but having that microphone in between you and your source can be like a little bit of a barrier.
Yes.
But watching you talk to people, it's like you make that invisible. Watching you, and people who are listening to the program know that you've hosted the show a couple times now, 4 times. And you are able to sort of make the microphone disappear and really bring people into their element. Is that just that, like, is that how you just have always been? Like,
I think so. I think because I just see people as humans, no matter who they are, whether it's the mayor or the janitor, right? Everyone is human. I see you as human. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry just like me. So I want you to know that I'm coming to you as human to human, not as this is not gonna be a political thing. We're talking as humans. So I curate the vibe, and then people naturally follow it. And I think that's important for me, to just people to understand, like, I just want to have a chat. I want to have fun. I'm human too. So let's just talk about all the human stuff.
Yeah. And it can be missing sometimes, especially right now when people are so polarized. So I want to talk about your title shift.
Ooh.
You were hired as the health reporter here at XXI, and now you are the health, equity, and community reporter.
Yes.
What does that title mean to you?
Yeah, that's something I pushed for, because I felt like being a Black woman here in media, I felt like it was an obligation for me to tell the story of the marginalized community. And with health, I think you're kind of limited in the sense where you can get the Black and Hispanics, or you can get them to be a part of your story, but sometimes you don't get the chance to tell their story, right? Just living that experience. And I did a lot of stories for City Magazine, where I was able to just do that a little bit, touch on that a little bit, tell more stories about that community. And I'm like, hey, I like this. I actually like this. I like stepping out of health, and because health can sometimes be, it can be a little draining. It can weigh on your emotions a little bit. And I wanted something more uplifting, right? And City allowed me to do that, and I'm like, hey, why don't we do this at XXI? And because a lot of stories I proposed to City, XXI, like, hey, we want that too. And I'm like, okay, all right, we're not going to be selfish. So I'll do it for you too, XXI. And then I just proposed, like, why not? I want to continue doing that. So I proposed, like, hey, can I change my title so I can cover more of these stories, whether it's the Black people, the LGBTQ plus community, whether it's just people that are the communities that are not feel like their stories are not being told, or they're not being heard. I just wanted to cover those things.
You bring up a really good point too, which is that the health beat in particular can be so sad, right? You're talking about, you talk to people with chronic illness.
Yes.
You talk a lot about pain, death, and dying.
Yes.
You've managed to bring this angle to the health beat that I really love, where you're covering stories about, like, a woman's square dancing group, as a way to get fit, or sort of all these other health adjacent. You focused a lot on mental health, especially recently, as it pertains to fathers or mothers. And I wonder if you want to move past the health stuff in general, or if you find yourself, like, constantly tying back to that health.
Yeah, because that's my foundation, right? Since I've been here, health has been my foundation. So I look for the health stories, I do, and I try to incorporate it some way. Health is in everything. My colleagues do health stories, and that is just in everyday life. So that's my baby, right? I'm always going to go back to health because at the end of the day, I try to find a hopeful line, like a silver lining with all my stories. I always want to end on hope, even when it's something that's so traumatic or sad. I always want to end with hope. So health is something that it created me, right? It created this journalist. So I will never leave health behind. I just wanted to be able to tell more stories and get out my comfort zone a little bit with telling the stories.
And speaking of stories, I want to talk a little bit more about your story, particularly your story as a mom. You've been a little bit more open about your personal life and your experience as being a mom to a son with autism.
Yes.
How has parenting changed the way that you approach people, or how has it sort of shaped your storytelling and your journalism?
Wow. Yeah. That part of my life I don't really talk about because I get a lot of emotional with it. So my son, he's 7. He's nonverbal. And I feel like, I've spent a lot of years just crying and wondering why. And it started to make sense to me just recently. Like, okay, I'm supposed to tell these stories. I'm supposed to open up about my journey. So it made me patient when it comes to people in general. It's made me really patient with people because you never know what someone's going through. And I just want to provide that relatability, right? Like I go through it too. Like it may look glamorous on the outside looking in, right? With my 2 personas, but I definitely, I struggle too. And I go through my challenges and I understand, right? We may not share the same challenge, but I understand. And that's why I approach everything with just compassion, because you never know. A lot of people can just carry their journey really well. They carry their challenges really, really well. But we all go through things. And when I put that out there about my son and raising my son is to let people know, like, yes, okay, it does look good, but we all have our challenges. Like I always say, ignorance is bliss, right? And people don't know what anyone is going through. So I think that it made me really humble in a sense where I can be more compassionate, especially with my sources.
Is there also an element there of like, you're not alone, right?
Yes.
Like we're in community for other parents who are going through this, and it can be an isolating experience.
Yes. And I put out a post on social media, and it was so overwhelming, the amount of people and parents that are raising kids that are neurodivergent. I didn't know this community was so vast. And so I felt like, okay, this is maybe this is my purpose, right? To let people know they're not alone, to share that journey. And there was a time when my friend of mine said, you should put that out there. You should let people know. And I'm like, wait, not yet. I need to accept this before I put it out there. Because it's timing is everything. And it wasn't just my time. And when it became my time to put it out there, then I did. And it's just, there's so many people waiting to share that experience and waiting for that community. So it is every day. It's rewarding, but it's also challenging. So after I leave work, I go to work, right? I'm a caregiver. So I understand that life as well, being a caregiver, whether it's you're taking care of your parent or, a child with a disability. Being a caregiver is a shared experience, and I get it. I get it. So a lot of times I can approach my stories with, I get it.
I want to just take this really quick and just be like, because I need to keep talking about this, because I'm a mom too, and we're both women, and there's a lot of public discourse about there's been this toxic view that women can have it all. You can have the work, you can have the profession, you can be a stellar mom. From the outside looking in, it looks like you're doing a really good job with it. Like, how do you feel about sort of being in the midst of all of that? Like, do you think that's a healthy way to look at it, or do you feel like I don't know? I guess, what do you think about that?
Like being a mom and being successful in your career and all that stuff.
All that.
Yeah. Ooh.
How do you do it?
Everything comes with its price, right? I do it, but there are times when I'm exhausted, and getting rest is hard for me. And I look back at my childhood and my mom being raised by a single mom and watching her do it, and she's still doing it, right? There's no rest in between, and it's hard to get rest. It's hard because when you have a goal for yourself and you have a goal for your child, sometimes you don't sleep, right? And it looks beautiful. There are some rewarding moments, right? Where you're like, this is why I'm doing this. And there's also times I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted. And it trickles down into every aspect of your life, where sometimes I feel like I'm not performing at my best because I am exhausted. And then sometimes when I have a great day with my son, I'm like, it just trickles down to every aspect of your life. So it looks beautiful, right? And you can have it all, but everything comes with a cost. You're either sacrificing your rest, you're sacrificing sometimes your health. I try to insert like gym time, exercise time, some self-care time, whether it's just getting a pedicure, just some time for myself. So you really have to, it's hard to for that self-care time, to take time to yourself. You really have to be intentional with that. And it shouldn't have to be that way, right? But you have to really be intentional when you see the vision and you know what you want, and you sacrifice for the moment, and hopefully eventually everything pays off and you can have weeks of rest.
I was going to ask, what is your relationship to rest right now?
Oh, it's very toxic. A very toxic relationship.
And I guess also, I do want to say, too, not just what's your relationship to rest, but like, what's your advice for women, for people, and their relationship to rest?
Yes.
Two-parter.
I think one of my biggest things is asking for help. I don't like to ask for help. I don't like to be a burden on others. So I would say, don't follow me. Ask for help, okay? If you need that time, use your village and get that time and get that help. Because you can't be, one of my biggest things that you can't be beneficial to anyone if you're not doing what's best for you, right? If you're not taking care of yourself. So I still have to work on that. I still have to work on self-care and taking time to myself. I'll get it one day, I promise. But asking for help and taking that time so you can take that time is important.
And I think that like conversations like this with vulnerability in them are important too, right? Because like I think that traditionally in media, the journalist plays the role of this like objective and neutral sort of mirror for the story, for the audience, whatever. And media is shifting a lot. And I want to get into that in a little bit, but I don't want to like put the cart before the horse before we talk a little bit more about your philosophy on media. You've talked about authenticity being really important, being unapologetically yourself. So what does authenticity look like to you in media? Why is it important?
In media, as far as pertaining to myself?
Yeah.
Well, I approach everything as myself, right? And that was one of my big things for finding a job, right? It's like, if I can't be myself in my workplace, if the workplace culture doesn't allow me to be myself, I don't want to be there.
And I can attest to this. You are very much yourself when you walk into your room.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
No, it's a good thing.
It's a good thing?
Yeah.
Okay, like I need to be my loud, extra self, right? Like I have this blonde mohawk and I walk in with my heels and I'm just unapologetically wow, there we go.
I know.
I just caught that,
we
right?
Need to drop it.
Unapologetically myself. And I want to be able to do that with my work, right? So with anything, I want to be myself at all times, which means I want to be loud and extra. And I also know that I'm emotional, and I also know that I need time. I want to have a safe space within the work culture to say like, hey, I need time. But in media, people are getting paid for being themselves. People are getting paid for being themselves. So many people in media, entertainment news, whether it's sports, right? They're blowing up just by being themselves, and I see it. And I'm like, there's room for me to be myself in media, right? and be where I want to be. And being myself has got me to this point, right? Where I guess you guys saw something in me here at XXI to give me this summer position. It's all because I was myself. So there is room to be yourself, all right? Whether how you show up, however you show up physically, with your mindset, your emotions, being yourself is what gets you anything. Like there's a saying that, God cannot bless who you pretend to be. So I'm not pretending to be anything but myself because I want every opportunity that I get for me to get it because I am myself. So there's no surprises. You guys knew what you were signing up for. I hope you know what you're signing up for with Connections. You knew what you were signing up for. And it all came because I was myself from the beginning.
So how does that play out in this room? Like, what do you hope the audience gets from that?
I want the audience to know that, or I hope they get that I'm truly like a fun person, but I'm also very much passionate about what I do, right? And I love a challenge. And it's funny because I just wanted to say, like, it took me so long to agree to co-host Connections, okay? Because I was terrified of being myself on this platform. I was terrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, are the listeners going to accept who I am? And when I finally did, after years of being asked, Evan and Megan, like, hey, Racquel, do you want to be a co-host on Connections? I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to be myself yet on this platform. And then when I found, like, you know what? I'll just be myself. And it came with a reward. So I think that's a test to what you're saying. Like, sometimes I know myself. I'm like, are the people ready for me?
Yeah, because it sounds like you're saying you weren't ready, but what it really sounds like is like WXXI wasn't ready. Wasn't ready to give space to that.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yes, WXXI was ready because the opportunity presented itself plenty of times. Because sometimes you can't see what people see in you. And that's one of my biggest things. Like, I live with that imposter syndrome. So I don't see what people see in me. Like, when you guys give me compliments, I'm like, oh, I did that? Wow, that's amazing. Okay, who is she? Because I don't see it, right? Because I am myself. Like, I'm being myself at all times. So I'm not critiquing everything I do. So when you, or applauding everything I do. So when people see it in you, you're like, okay, you know what? They see something in me. So let me just go out there and just be who they see, I guess. Be myself.
Like, for some reason, that makes me think of, like, fake it till you make it.
Fake it.
Except that you're talking about, like, just be me and hope for the best.
Hope for the best. That's the only thing I know how to be.
Yeah.
It's me. And I don't have it all together. And a lot of the shows that are coming up, I'm no expert, right? And I feel like that's part of the growth of this all. And I'm still learning myself. And this will help me.
I want to talk more about who you are and who it means to be Racquel Stephen and also Rocky B. But first, we're going to take a quick break, our only break of the hour. I'm here with my colleague Racquel Stephen, our health equity and community reporter, and we'll be back for more of this conversation and more of your questions.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Bob Johnson Auto Group, proud supporter of Connections with Evan Dawson. Believing an informed public makes for a stronger community. BobJohnsonAutoGroup.com.
We're back. This is Connections. I'm Veronica Volk, filling in for Evan Dawson today. And only today, because after today, my colleague Racquel Stephen will be co-hosting the show, guest hosting the show. She's the health equity and community reporter here at WXXI, and we're getting to know her a little bit better. And I just want to say, if you have a question for Racquel, you can call 844-295-TALK, 8255 toll-free, the local number 585-263-9994. Or you can email us at connections@wxxi.org or comment on the Connections live stream on the WXXI News YouTube channel. That live engagement element is something that makes this show so special.
Yes.
It's also part of what makes the show a little bit intimidating, I think. And I've never hosted the show before, but you've done it a couple times now. And let me just say, the shows that you've hosted so far have been absolutely stellar.
Oh, thank you.
I'm wondering what you're thinking about for this summer. What sort of topics do you want to do you want to talk about? What do you want to explore that's new to you? What do you want to explore that maybe some of the listeners will be familiar with? What do you got?
Yeah, I'm trying to touch on everything, right? Even things I'm not familiar with. So I know it's a lot of, I really underestimated the planning it takes to keep this show running as smoothly as Evan does. It's some pretty big shoes to fill. So you guys, give me some grace for the first week or so as I get my feet wet and really get comfortable behind being, steering the ship. But I want to touch on everything, whether it's health related, arts related, anything that gets me going. And I feel like I approach my stories that way. If a story pitch doesn't excite me, I assume, right, because my thought matters, I assume that it won't excite my listeners, right? So if it excites me, I want to pursue that. And if we can get that done and produced, let's do it. So we're covering anything from phobias to vaccine rollouts and what is it looking like now for us, and the arts and the Cornhill festivals and the Carrot Fest, and we're going to touch on Pride Week, and we're going to touch on mental health, anything that whenever diabetes and cures for chronic illnesses and outlandish cures. Like I want to stretch it as far as I can. And I want to touch on things that I'm not familiar with. If I'm not comfortable with the topic, let's do it. Because I think this is a moment for me to grow. And Evans gave me one of the best advice ever. Like if you're not sure, then your listeners probably aren't sure. So be that vessel for them. And we're just gonna all just grow together, I guess. And I'm just gonna show up as myself, and hopefully you can see how passionate I am as a reporter and just delivering good radio.
Okay, let's get into what it means to be yourself, because here at WXXI, you came in the door as Racquel Stephen, but you have built an identity around also Rocky B, who's this host, personality, creative. So who is Rocky B, and how did that dual identity come about? How'd that come to be?
Okay. Rocky B is she's just it's weird talking about myself in like the third person.
Yeah, we can change the framing.
Rocky B she's just a vibrant, sassy thing that loves to entertain. And she came from, Rocky is short for Raquel, right? So I know a lot of Raquel's nicknames are Rocky. So that's Rocky. And the B is my middle name. So Rocky B is she's my alter ego, right? She is on the Beat 105.5, and she talks to entertainers, and she entertains a certain demographic, and she just has fun, a whole lot of creative control, and that's another part of myself where like my authenticity really shines and comes through. So I think a lot of people have two lives or two different, alter ego, and it just so happens that both kind of work for me in a sense, which is weird. I never wanted them to meet. I never wanted Rocky B and Racquel Stephen to meet. Like, you go over here, you go over there, like separated at birth. I didn't want them to meet, and it just so happens that them coming together in some aspect works well on both platforms. But yeah, I was petrified of them meeting. Like, no way.
And by meeting, you mean like
coming together? Those two worlds syncing, coming together.
So you said this alter ego situation, like Mayor Malik Evans himself will say to you, who are you today?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Mayor Malik Evans, every time he sees me at a press conference or if I'm doing something as Rocky B, he's like, oh, hey, Raquel, or is it Rocky B today? And I'm like, well, it's Monday, so technically I'm Raquel because I'm only Rocky B on the weekends. So yeah, and he did say himself, like, this is someone that knows there's a time and place. And that's what it is.
Because I was going to ask, how's it feel that duality plays out so publicly, that you're being called out, like, oh, who is it? Who is it today?
Yeah. It's still weird.
Yeah.
It's still weird. They're still trying to get to know each other. But both, I exist in both worlds, right? And for me, it's just my way of just navigating those worlds. And they're coming together. because Rocky B, the people that know Rocky B are now starting to know Raquel.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, okay. This is what she really does. Is she is a journalist,
And
not
Rocky
just an
Beat,
entertainer.
So on the beat, what are you talking about?
Oh, on the
For
beat.
folks who haven't
So
heard.
on the beat, that's the beat 105.5. I am the weekend host, right? And so I do a lot of fun things, whether it's giveaways or if there's like a celebrity entertainer that comes to town, oftentimes I would interview them. So the skills cross over, right? Because the huge personality works here at WXXI as well, especially when I do interviews. And then the Raquel the journalist works well at the beat when I have to interview the politicians or the entertainers that don't want the typical interviews, right? So having those interviewing skills, having those journalist skills works well over there as well. It's just, they work together, okay?
I was gonna say, do you feel like there's one place where you are able to be more authentic? And you can be honest.
Ooh, Chris, don't listen. Rocky B, I think, is more me, only because she's free. There's no limitations there, right? It's here. It's it's very structured here, and you have an assignment, and your assignment is to report the facts, and the facts, right? And over there, it's more. You're free. Is more creative control over there. But then
Personality driven.
yeah, personality driven, right? But then over here is do the same thing. Like media is media, right? Like personality is what got me here. So both of them are myself. It's just a different demographic.
I think people are starting to recognize that you can be both.
Yes.
I think that there's a fear in sort of investing in people who are all personality for your news and information.
Yes.
Because there's sort of a surface level trust there based on vibes, right?
Yes.
But you don't actually know if they know what they're talking about.
Right.
So I guess like I think, not speaking for WXXI, but as somebody who's worked here for a long time, I think that WXXI is sort of coming to a place where, like we talked about, there's more space for that personality. There's more space for a person rather than just, an individual who's representing a brand.
Yes. Yeah. And this is a world for like content creators, right? And now with podcasting taking over, right? Everyone has a voice and everyone's opinion is being heard. So I feel like there is room for both. There is room for both to coexist. And even as Rocky B, my listeners over there trust what I'm saying. They trust what I'm saying. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I'm also a journalist.
Yeah.
So it works both ways.
How much of this do you think has to do with race?
In what way? Like
in the way that the audience for this show and WXXI in general is predominantly white. Well, how do you think that plays out in I don't know, in you?
When I would say it makes me more mindful here, right? How I come across, because it is a different demographic, right? So I pay more attention to what I say and how I say it.
Say more about that.
I feel like as a Black woman in media, or just a Black woman in general, right? In this corporate world, or just being successful, like you have to be a certain way, or you're expected to be a certain way, right? And when you are when you are articulate, and when you are good at what you do, and you're proven to be an asset, you're like a unicorn, right? And I think me taking so long to host Connections was because I don't want, I always tell you, like, I don't want to look stupid on air, right? And I think it's an added pressure
of having to prove yourself,
having to prove that you're just as good as your male counterpart, your male white counterpart. And I feel that every day in the workroom. Like, am I just as good? So I honing on my strength. Like, I know I'm great at this. So you hone in on that, and you just, you perfect that. Yeah, so it is an added pressure to prove that you're just as good. And as you are a little bit more aware of like, am I sounding like I'm just as good? Yeah. So there is an added pressure when it comes to reporting for XXI. But when I'm Rocky B, I'm speaking to my people.
It's like code switching.
When I'm code switching, it's different.
That's hard.
It's different. Yeah, it's hard. Every day is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, every day. But that's just the reality of it.
Well, I hope that at least in part through some of this conversation, that like your time on the show, it helps you tell the stories that are like authentically you, and also helps you reach a new audience, helps us interact with a new audience. WXXI is in sort of a moment of transition also, right? Like we're on the cusp of potentially losing all this funding and really I think we're reckoning with what our identity is in this community. Who are we for?
Yeah.
And what are we doing? And why?
Yeah.
So no pressure. You just happen to also be hosting the show at this like really pivotal moment.
Yes.
Have you thought about that?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why me? Why me right now?
Yeah.
Right? Is it race driven? Is it because I'm good? You know, like I've thought about that. Yeah, definitely thought about that. Like, am I that good? Yeah, I've talked to my friends. Like, am I good? Like, is this why I have this position right now? Yeah, that's just being real. That's really my thought process sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really interesting to ask that question.
Yeah.
But you are really good.
Yeah, thank you.
And
that's the unicorn thing I'm
host.
talking about. Like, it's a unicorn thing. Like, wow, she actually is really good. And she has this blonde mohawk, and she's, you know, like, I can navigate in both rooms. So, yeah, but you do ask that question during a time like this. Like, is it because I'm really good?
We've never gotten a chance to talk about this.
Yeah.
You can feel free to say, like, I don't want to talk about this.
No, I'm
but
okay.
Our newsroom
I'm honest.
Our newsroom is mostly white.
Yeah.
I mean, how
it wasn't always that way though.
No.
Right? I came in and I'm like, oh, hey, girl that looked like me, you know, April Franklin and James Brown, and we had Juan Vasquez. I'm like, oh, this is diverse. Yes. And then, you know, then I became the She's the Stood Alone. I'm like, wow, okay. So there was an added pressure there. Right now I'm feel like you're representing a whole demographic, right, with your work. You can't share the load, right? Because at the end of the day, being that Black reporter, the advantage is I can go into these communities and they will trust me to tell the story, right? And whether it's because I'm Black, whether it's because I'm Rocky B and I already established that rapport with that community, that's an asset here. Because now we can really get to the people that we should be talking to. But then it's also a pressure.
And you think we should? You obviously think we should.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about the future of WXXI, it's like embedded in this community.
Because we do great work. We do great work, and it's so sad that there is this reputation that XXI has.
It's not just WXXI; it's public media.
In general, right? And because it's great work, and I feel like I think I'm bridging that gap. Right? I'm bridging that gap between WXX or public media and the real world.
I'm having this moment of reckoning where, like, I want you to bridge that gap too, but I don't want to make you feel responsible.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you guys if it's too much.
To carry that burden.
Hold on. We
can talk about it after
these
the show.
Heels is not meant, these heels aren't made for walking. But yeah, it's an added responsibility, but it's also so empowering, right? Because people are looking at me like, yo, she's doing it for us. And you guys are like, no, she's damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like, yeah, in that
anyone
community,
who
I'm
has
like
seen you in your element, and it's so funny too. When we were talking just before the show, you had this sort of like, you call yourself an introverted extrovert, where you were just kind of like, all right, well, I don't really like talking about myself, and this could be a little bit of a challenge, an hour. But there's something about being on the air that just like it sort of, I don't know, it like lights you on fire in like the best way.
It's home. I love a mmicrophone.
It's home.
Yeah.
Well, it's the stage.
It's the stage. Turn that microphone on, and I'm like, oh, what? I was scared of what? I just look, and I feel like not everyone gets this opportunity, or not everyone gets this type of platform. So if you have it, you better take advantage of it.
You don't shy away from it either.
I
Is the
don't.
fashion part of that too?
Liz, I already ordered a ton of clothes because I know we're streaming live on YouTube, and I'm planning not to wear the same thing twice. So I think it's just my personality.
Yeah.
I think I just have this huge personality, and it works.
And how did that fashion, was that part of your early sort of performance pageantry stuff, or is it just
It just came about. I just like putting things together. I like looking good, right? Because if you look good, then you feel good, then you have a good day. And that's just my philosophy. And I feel like you speak without speaking with your fashion. You say a lot about who you are without saying anything.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I'm in jeans.
You're a mommy.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so we only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
I had this idea, and I was talking to you a little bit about this before the show. There's this show Wild Card on NPR, hosted by Rachel Martin, where she asks these really off-the-wall questions.
Oh,
but
gosh.
I don't have a deck of cards, and I can't serve you with a deck of cards, but I did have a couple of wild card questions if you're game.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
What is something you think about very differently today than you did 10 years ago?
Wow.
Yeah, I love that. Give me a wow.
Wow. What is something I think about differently today than I did 10 years ago? Wow. What I don't. Oh wow.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, where were you 10 years ago?
10 years ago, how old was I? I was, you know what? I finally found my purpose. Yeah, because at 10 years ago, I was still trying to figure out where my life was headed. 10 years ago, this was a dream. This was on my vision board. It wasn't a reality. So I feel as if right now, I would say it would just be just trusting the process. Yeah.
Trust the process.
Trusting the process.
That's great. How has your idea of success changed over time?
I think success is just looking back in hindsight and seeing how far you've come, and knowing that where you are was something you once thought about, and you're happy doing this. For me, I enjoy every aspect of my life. Yes, I don't get as much rest as I would love, but I chose this life. I chose it, and I'm living it, and I feel like that's successful, and I'm being pretty good at it. That's what success is for me.
Yeah.
And being recognized for that.
What is something people think comes naturally to you, but it actually takes a lot of work?
Oh my gosh. Well, oh wow. I would say, geez, right. I wish we went over this before I came on air.
That's not how journalism works.
I know. Something that people think comes naturally to me. I think my stage presence. My stage presence. People think I'm just this confident person that just turns it on anytime.
I don't believe for a second that you're not.
You see, I really have before I host an event, I really, or even before I go live on Connections or I host an event, I really have a process that I go through first before I dive in. I have to do this my ritual, right? Because it takes a lot to build up that energy and that esteem to do it, to be confident, right? And yeah. It's something that I really have a ritual and I build myself up to do.
What is your earliest memory of music, and what was your relationship to music?
My earliest memory of music. Well, I grew up on the islands, so I grew up loving reggae music, calypso music, soca music, anything that gets my body moving, right?
The dancer.
I'm a dancer, okay? This waistline is okay. This waistline is not stiff, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I am a dancer. So, And I grew up in a dance company. Like I started dancing at 3 years old at Caribbean Dance Company. So I've loved music forever. And one of the things that it teaches you is to just let the music guide you, right? So at 3 years old, I was finding my body and my movement,
Your rhythm.
expressing myself
Mm-hmm.
through music at 3 years old.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we only have like a minute or so left. So I'm going to ask you what I ask at the end of all of my interviews.
Uh-oh.
Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. Why me, guys? I don't know if you can answer that, but why choose me to host this show? These are huge shoes to fill,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Huge shoes.
Evan
like
Dawson is
size
incredibly
15.
respected by his
Yes.
listeners. I don't have to tell you guys that. But
Yes.
Raquel, you're incredibly talented. You are a phenomenal host. The way that you're able to connect with people on a human level is something that plays out in like every stage of your reporting. And it was seeing that I think through your guest hosting made it make sense. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Raquel, thank you
for seeing
so
that.
much for joining us. And I hope you've enjoyed this hour learning all about Racquel Stephen. She will be back to host the show starting Monday from 12 to 1. And Connections will be rebroadcasting some of your favorite episodes hosted by Evan from 1 to 2. Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Connections. I'm Veronica Volk, in for Evan Dawson on WXXI.
This program is a production of WXXI Public Radio. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, management, or underwriters. The broadcast is meant for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or use in another medium without expressed written consent of WXXI is strictly prohibited. Connections with Evan Dawson is available as a podcast. Just click on the Connections link at WXXInews.org.